Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. For full context, my father-in-law has a medical condition, and we really don't know how much time he has to be with us. At our last Christmas family get-together, my mother-in-law tells everyone that she wants to do a Christmas cruise with the family before my father-in-law gets to where he can't travel. Everyone agreed, and the plan was that no one would buy gifts for each other, and we would all use the money for the cruise instead. Earlier this year, my wife found and booked the cruise for us all. Everything was set and good to go. Fast forward to now. My daughter's fiancé proposed a couple of weeks ago. Yay, finally! And then a few days ago, she tells us that they are getting married in Italy. The date is 5 months after the planned cruise. Yesterday, my wife got a text out of the blue from my daughter saying that she guessed we would need to cancel the cruise, since no one could probably afford to do both months apart. They are not paying for anyone to attend, by the way, and this is her second marriage, so I'm not paying for it either. And that everyone should prioritize this once-in-a-lifetime event, her words, not mine, over the cruise. My youngest daughter, who lives on a very modest income, had planned on the cruise for her whole family as a vacation, since they don't get to do this very often with 3 kids. Their cruise cost is less than 2 tickets to Italy and hotel for 3 days, and they could not afford to take the kids to the wedding. So she wants to keep the cruise planned. My mother-in-law wants to keep the cruise planned as it was her wish, and she and my father-in-law would not be able to go to Italy anyway. He is on oxygen, and the logistics for them would be awful. Everyone else is in agreement to keep the cruise, but the older daughter says we are all being selfish, and that she would be very angry if we all chose an expensive cruise over her wedding, and we could cancel and book a different cruise and a different time. My stance is the cruise stays planned, and anyone who wants to drop out is welcome to. My wife and I will probably try to go to Italy, but if no one else can, that's kind of the consequences of having a destination wedding, unless you are paying to bring everyone there. So I ask you, am I the a-hole? OP's daughter is absolutely selfish. OP's father-in-law, her grandfather, is in failing health, and OP's mother-in-law wants one last family trip. They planned it, but now that OP's daughter has decided to get married, she thinks those plans should upend everything? She is making choices that will alienate her from the rest of the family because she only cares about herself. Nope, nope, and nope. The timing for the Christmas cruise is not on a whim. It is to strategically pull the family together while it can be done. The attempt to prioritize the wedding overall is based on some sort of selfish financial reasoning that puts no consideration into what the alternate cruise plan is and how it celebrates a brief moment of time in which you can enjoy your father-in-law at his most able or cognizant. Cancel the cruise is not the quick fix your daughter seems to think it is. Does she realize what the timing of your cruise was planned around and why? Or does she not care? And by the way, it's her second marriage. Calling it a once-in-a-lifetime event doesn't ring true. Not the a-hole. Stay strong. Not the a-hole. Last line hits it. Consequences of a destination wedding. Your daughter is being selfish and set a date she knew might cause problems with something that's already been booked. She decided to play chicken and see who's more important, I guess. Not the a-hole. Your daughter planned a destination wedding, full knowing the cruise was already booked, and that it's an important one last hurrah kind of trip. Even without that, that's the trade-off of a destination wedding. Not everyone is going to be able to afford to go. As far as I know, none of my friends or family are aware of this, only that the wedding has been called off. What makes this worse is that after my father died 10 years ago, me, my mother, and sister became closer and closer. The wedding was supposed to be last year, but got postponed for obvious reasons. Nearly 2 weeks ago, my fiancée had her bachelorette party at this spa and resort. It sounded like it was just going to be a massage and drinks by the pool. My sister went because she is in the wedding party, and when my mother was also invited, I scoffed at the idea that anything bad would happen. They spent 2 nights there, Friday to Sunday, and somehow on the first night, my fiancée drank too much, and I guess she lost her phone. My sister and mother found it and thought it would be funny to record themselves waking up my fiancée when she was hungover and passed out. The video starts with them outside my fiancée's room, and they were talking about how she drank last night, etc. When they go in the room, my fiancée is asleep in bed, with a man next to her. Well, there's a lot of screaming and everything. You can probably imagine the situation. I learned about all this when I got a notification that a video had been uploaded. In addition, my fiancé was logged into Messenger on my computer, so I saw a long chat record. After the surprise awakening, my fiancé locked herself in the bathroom. Over texts, she claimed she had no memory of meeting the guy and going up to her room. Fiancé's sister and mother talked for a long time, and all three of them agreed to never speak of it again. I saw all three of them on Sunday for dinner after they returned, and they seemed perfectly normal. My fiancé tried initiating S that night, but I said I wasn't feeling well. The next day, I suggested to my fiancé that we watch a movie. I simultaneously sent my copy of the video to my mother and sister and played the clip for my fiancé on our TV. Long story short, she sobbed and apologized and made every kind of promise you can imagine. Soon after, the other two were blowing up my phone. I told my fiancé to pack up her stuff and leave. She kept begging, and at one point, I thought she was having a panic attack. I texted my mother and sister to come look after her while she moved her stuff out. Since then, there's been a firestorm of calls and messages and visits, but I haven't spoken to anyone. How can I possibly salvage any of these relationships? Should I try and reconcile with my fiancé and family? I just don't know where to go from here. Where you go from here is to call off the wedding and dump your partner, immediately, completely, and decisively. You can do better than this loser. I would also keep a distance from mother and sister, as they were not helpful. Holy crap, man! Your mother and sister are even bigger traitors than your fiancé. If I was in your shoes, I'd dump her immediately and never talk to mother and sister again, no matter how deep the bond. But it's your life. You decide, and live with the consequences. My family is my mother, sister, and me. Our father was a deadbeat. There's been a long-standing favoritism of my older sister, starting in childhood, when my birthday presents would be taken away and given to her to make it fair. There are a few major events that have solidified my view that I am not a wanted part of this family. First, it's hard not to compare our weddings. I had a small private ceremony in my home city. My mother said she wanted to help, and so we discussed her getting dinner for the wedding party the night before. We chose a restaurant and she had seen the menu. After we had ordered our food, she takes me aside and tells me that she's not paying for this, and just walks off. My husband's uncle came through, but having her ditch me and humiliate me in front of my in-laws was horrible. It put a huge damper on my wedding day, but I powered through, because what else can you do? She's the only parent I have. The next day, she gives me the gift she got for my wedding. It was a small, broken plate. Literal trash. I know this sounds crazy, but I really don't know why she did any of this to me. I am not some horrible person that deserves wrapped trash for a wedding present. My sister's wedding was a lavish oceanfront affair. It was truly beautiful, and I'm glad she got the day she wanted. And our mother was so happy for sister, she paid for the location. A beachfront bar that cost more than my entire wedding, including dinner she was supposed to cover. Comparing that to how she ditched me, gave me trash, and ruined my wedding really hurt me. I know this all sounds very materialistic, but the difference in how we were treated is obvious when you put price tags. More so than if I tried to describe dismissive interactions or some other metric that isn't so easily quantifiable. Second, the evening of my 30th birthday, I get a call from my drunk mother. She is so happy because she flew in to see my sister who is having a baby shower. I had previously expressed excitement over going to sister's baby shower, first member of the next generation, but she didn't even extend an invite. Sister invited our entire family, except for me, even though she knew I would have wanted to come, and scheduled it on my milestone birthday. I do not make scenes or start fights or do anything that would justify being left out of the family like this. My only guess is that this is a weird continuation of sister's desire to have the center of attention, like when we were children and she would get my birthday gifts. I think there's something about me having attention that makes her upset. She managed to beg for gifts at my wedding too, making our grandparents buy her a fancy Fjallraven backpack and showing it off to me while bragging. At my wedding. It's neither here nor there, but even my husband was disgusted with how tacky and boorish she was being. Like she wanted to rub it in that she got gifts on my wedding day, when I got trash, and she knew it. There are a lot more events like this. I've come to the conclusion that these people have hurt and humiliated me more than they have ever helped me. It's not that I particularly hate them, but I no longer desire a relationship with them. I'm just sad. I want to be left alone with my husband and in-laws, who are great. However, my mother is acting like I am turning against her for no reason and am being completely irrational. For her, family is everything. But that's hard to believe after the way she has treated me. Do you think going low contact with these people is too far? Am I a really self-absorbed jerk because I'm offended? I've tried to explain my point of view, but they've been completely dismissive. Is there any way to make them understand? Edited for clarity. Sister arranged the party to be on my birthday, not mother. Sounds like your mom is a narcissist and your sister is the golden child. I'd go no contact after the wedding incident. Low contact is being very kind and gracious. You don't deserve this treatment. You've tried for 32 years for your sister and mother to treat you like an equal family member instead of a second-class citizen in your own family. That's enough. If they're that entrenched in it, they're not going to change. There isn't going to be that one magic phone call where you say the right thing and it clicks, or Hollywood-type situation where they see the error of their ways. This is how they are and how they value you. There is one thing you are doing wrong. Going low contact will not help you that much. They will just make sure to use that time to catch up on putting their thumb in your eye at that opportunity. Don't use half measures when you should use a full measure. You should fully break up with your sister and your mother. Thank them for what they have done for you, but you will no longer accept the painful experiences of being a second-class member of the family, and you're going your own way. You've given them more than enough time and chances to do right by you, and it's beyond fixing. They probably will tell you that you're being petty and selfish, and you're just tired of hearing that. Just as they're probably tired of hearing you stand up for yourself. So it's time to admit that this is beyond cure. The only thing left to do is exit. I'm from a South Asian family, currently residing in a country about 10,000 kilometers away, having set up a life and doing pretty okay for myself on my own. I was recently engaged to be married later this year. Enter entitled family, EF, comprising of entitled uncle, EU, entitled aunt, EA, and entitled cousin, EC. Entitled family has always been super competitive for some reason, always playing a game of one-upmanship throughout my entire childhood. I've observed them trying to keep the extended family indebted to them, making them indispensable. If it wasn't buying the cousin pricey gifts, it was through the random, unnecessary remodeling of the ancestral home. I went to study abroad, so entitled cousin has to, even if it's for a semester. I buy a car, so entitled cousin has to, even if it's with entitled uncle's money. I plan on getting married, so now entitled cousin has to, even though he's about 3 years younger. Cut to 5 months ago. My parents let the extended family and other relatives know that I'm preparing to settle down. Mistake number 1. Little did we know that entitled family would be competing on this one too. After going through a bunch of candidates, we come across a potential match that, as luck would have it, is pretty close to some relatives we bond well with. We get to talking, and pretty soon, we find out that we're really compatible, easy to keep the conversation going, similar likes and dislikes, essentially one of those matches made in heaven kind of a deal. My significant other and I finally decided it's time to set a date. We let our parents take it further, and we decide on a date. After that's done, my parents start telling the rest of the family about the development. One of the first few people they inform happens to be entitled family. Mistake number 2. All this while entitled family have apparently going full force about finding a match for entitled cousin. So proactive, in fact, that they apparently preemptively booked a venue, hotel, caterers, etc. for the big day, far in advance. As soon as they find out, they scrambled to let everyone and their mother know how we went behind their backs, finalized everything without consulting anyone. Until this moment, they had conveniently kept it under wraps that their particular wedding date is a day before mine, and that we had hijacked their big day. Over the past month now, I've had zero contact with any of these family members, although my mother had to field calls from irate aunts who are furious about not being involved in the decision. That is a major part of our culture. My father has to field calls from his brothers, who are too dim-witted to understand that it's a question of two different nations, and it's practically and logistically impossible to just change our set date to satisfy their ego. A couple people actually had the audacity to push it to mid-next year, because some of them can't handle the cold. Then there's kids' exams to consider. And finally, mild bribery in the form of promises to pay for the wedding themselves. None of us want a big fat wedding to begin with, but thanks for the offer, I guess. He finally lost his cool 2 weeks back and tells them point blank that they're stupid. He used another colorful word. If they believe that entitled family fixed the date, booked the venues, and finalized other major services for the wedding all in one evening, and people are free to choose which wedding to attend. We have essentially been boycotted for not kowtowing to entitled family and their wishes. So basically, all the overly entitled dumb duck trash uninvited themselves to your wedding, so that it's a wonderful, peaceful event. Just saying. And congrats on your nuptials and upcoming marriage. Ugh, headache. Next, they will be blaming you for popping a kid out at a time that's not convenient for them. This is a terrible idea, but you should just start making things up. You don't plan to have kids, prior commitment, but now you guys are going to start trying right at the honeymoon. When asked how it's going, just tell them as soon as you have news you will share. Saddle the entitled cousin with kids right away. You aren't planning to just have 1 or 2 kids. No, you have actually discussed it, and ideally, you would like 4 or 5. Then, watch as entitled cousin pops out several, while you laugh at home and act sad with them. You are going to go on expensive vacations. Then entitled family will too. But plans fall through at the last minute. Oh well, it will happen when it's meant to be. Meanwhile, they have shelled out the bucks. Sadly, you might have to keep mom in the dark while you work on her recognizing their toxicity. But dad will get a kick out of it and can help mom out of the fog. I, 21, non-binary, moved in with my boyfriend, 20 male, about 8 months back in order to get away from my A parents. At first, I thought his family was cool. He told me that his mom and grandparents and brother liked me, and I tried my best to stay on their good side. Despite all that, a couple weeks back, boyfriend was admitted into the hospital for his chronic kidney disease and anemia, which he's had before we met. Since then, his mother and brother have been blaming me for his health issues, implying that it's my fault that he's been eating unhealthy and that I'm not allowing him to get the rest that he needs. Boyfriend and I use one car to commute to and from work, and his mother has been pressuring me to buy a second car because she feels the one-car commute is negatively affecting boyfriend's health. Boyfriend's brother has accused me of using boyfriend for access to a car and home, and his mother thinks that he is slaving away to support me. Even though I contribute equally to car and rent payments, and even financially support the both of us most of the time. His mother also thinks that I am controlling because he is sharing a car with me for our work commute. Boyfriend says just to ignore them, but recently his mother has said that she is going to talk me into buying a second car, and it's gonna be pretty. This makes me nervous because his mother is known for being emotionally brutal when she has these talks. I am just tired and stressed out and anxious. I moved in with boyfriend to get away from a toxic situation, but it just feels like I've walked into another one. I've been trying to get boyfriend to see how his family's controlling behavior is unhealthy, but he just says that it stresses him out and that he doesn't want to talk about it. I just want to live peacefully with no drama. Bail on the lot of them. You are way too young to have to settle for this level of BS. Are you on his lease? If not, see about finding your own place. He complains, this is what your family is insisting on. Either I buy a car or you stop supporting me. So since I do not want a car and you won't shut them up, I will leave. Then they will have nothing to complain about. You don't need help coping. You need a safe, stable place to live. He is not helping you to adequately defend yourself. You feel constrained because your new aggressors are family. Duck that. Stop letting these people A you and build a better life. Maybe a better boyfriend too while you're at it.